Ideas alone will not bring you the fulfillment that you're seeking. It's the execution that's going to do that.
Mogul Motivation, empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs and dream chasers worldwide, 1 week at a time. Presented by True Stories Media. And I am your host, Antoine Twiz Taylor.
Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mogul Motivation. Welcome back. I'm happy that you are here. If this is your first time listening, this podcast is for the aspiring entrepreneur trying to get over that hump and make things happen. This podcast is for anybody with a dream that wants to go forward and accomplish that dream. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on right now. Now, in the previous episode, we talked about discipline, about how discipline is that fail-safe that's going to get you across that finish line. Sure, motivation starts you on the journey, but motivation runs out. That's why we always need more of it. That's why I do Mogul Motivation episodes every single week. That's why you need to be motivated every single day. It runs out, but it's that discipline that's going to be consistent and get you through those low points. Disciplinary actions is what we talked about last week. This week, we're going to continue the trend of action. Because everybody has ideas. We always come up with an idea. We come up with an idea about a podcast. We come up with an idea about a book. We come up with an idea about a planner. We come up with an idea about any sort of business or something that's just going to get us from point A to point B, that's going to bring us fulfillment, that's going to bring us joy, and God willing, that's going to bring us lots of money. We always come up with ideas every single day. Every single person has millions and millions of ideas popping up in their heads. But the unfortunate thing is those ideas alone are not going to bring us fulfillment. Those ideas alone are not going to bring us thousands and millions of dollars. That's the unfortunate thing, because if that was the case, we all would be millionaires. We all would be billionaires. We all would be happy. But that is not the case. Ideas are simply just that. They are ideas. They are just mere thoughts. But what's going to bring us that fulfillment, what's going to bring us that joy, is the execution of taking that idea from imagination to reality, making that idea something tangible. We have to become action figures, everybody. We have to be action figures in our lives. We have to be action figures in our careers. We have to be action figures in our businesses. What that means is when we have an idea that pops in our head, an idea that gets us extremely excited, an idea that tells us that this is the one, an idea that tells us that this is what's going to liberate us from our current circumstances, that's when the work has to begin. We can't just allow that idea to stay in our head. Sure, we're going to jot down those ideas. We're going to flush it out. We're going to make a plan, but we can't just continue to do that. As humans, we have a tendency to procrastinate. Might not even be intentional, but we have a tendency to procrastinate because we don't believe we are worthy. We don't believe we can carry out this idea. So therefore we plan and we plan. We jot down more ideas revolving around that central idea. We talk about this. We talk about that. We tell our family. We tell our friends. We love to talk about the ideas. We love to write about the ideas, but we do not execute the ideas. You know what the idea is in your mind. You already know what the vision is. You know what the end game looks like. So therefore, you know how to execute it. Even if you have never done something like this before, even if this idea is something that's vast, something that's foreign to you, you know what you got to do. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I know what I have to do for my next novel. I know what my next novel should look like. I know what my next novel should feel like. So therefore, over a year and a half, I did a lot of planning. I did a lot of note taking. I did a lot of journaling about this central idea. But it's enough of that. I have to execute this idea. And how do I execute this idea? It's simple. I write the novel, write the manuscript, actually sit down in front of my computer and write. I've done enough planning. I've done enough note taking. I've done enough journaling. I actually had this idea for years. If we're going to be real, this goes back to like 2011. I had this idea, and here we are in 2024, and I'm finally executing. If I truly want the fulfillment of this story, if I truly want to reap the benefits from this story, the only way I can do that is if I actually write it. So whatever that idea you have in your mind, it might not be a book. It might be something else. It might be a conference. It might be an event. Whatever that vision is in your head, that idea has to go from imagination to reality. And the only way you can do that is action. You have to actually do something step by step, bit by bit. You're not going to hit that home run overnight, but if you hit a single here, if you hit a single there, if you hit a double there, if you hit a triple there, eventually you're going to reach home base. It's all about the action. You have to be an action figure, ladies and gentlemen. That action is what brings the execution from imagination to reality. Yes, you're afraid. Yes, you're scared. Yes, you're second guessing yourself, but I'm telling you right now, if God gave you that idea, God gave you that idea for a reason. Do not run from it. Do not shy away from it. Attack it and put in the action and execute. When you go to the cemetery, that's where so many ideas lay dormant, and they will remain there. Not because people were not brilliant, not because they were not smart, but because the courage wasn't there, because the faith just wasn't strong enough to overcome that fear. And I'm not shading anybody, because there's so many people in my life, in my family, that I know fit that mold. There's so many people that you know in your community that unfortunately went to their graves with brilliant ideas. Learn from that. Whatever that idea you have, execute it right now. Become an action figure. Do not remain dormant. Do not be docile. Do not be timid. Do not run from it. That idea is $1 billion idea. That idea is a brilliant idea. That idea is what's going to liberate you financially. That idea is what's going to take you from one level in your career to the next level in your career. That idea is what's going to change your personal life. That idea is what's going to bring you joy. But that idea alone is not going to do that. It is the action that's going to do that. It's the execution that's going to do that. And when it becomes something tangible, when it becomes something real, you are going to thank yourself so much for it. And you are going to be so grateful that you put forth the action to make it a reality, despite being inexperienced, despite having fear, despite being worried, despite taking the risk. You still had the faith, and you still trust God, and you still trust yourself. So that's my message today, everybody. Let's continue to work. Let's continue to imagine reality. When you get that idea, yes, plan it out. Jot down some notes. That's good. But now it's time to become an action figure and execute and carry it out to fruition. We are action figures because the action you take, the execution, and the things you achieve is going to bless somebody else. You are going to influence them to do the same thing. So if this podcast has benefited you in any way, shape, or form, I ask for two things as always. Number one, please leave a 5-star review. And number two, pass it on to a friend who may benefit from it as well. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you next week.